So it's officially been about roughly 3 days now since we got the big update that the SEC and Ripple jointly dismissed the appeals. This ended that 5-year legal fight, and the case is basically over at this point. Now, we also got another big update regarding this, which was this one from Crypto Law US, and we'll go over this here in a moment. But the main thing that I actually want to talk about is the market opportunity here for XRP. Okay. We've been seeing a ton of FUD, and I mean a crazy amount of FUD thrown towards XRP's side, from extremely large Bitcoin maxis to even those that, might not even be Bitcoin maxis. They just simply hate XRP, and it's because they're actually in competition with Ripple. And it's not like Ripple's in competition with them. No, they're just trying to beat Ripple to the punch here, but the problem is that they're failing to do so. Caitlin Long is a perfect example of this type of person. Obviously, her business model is kind of different compared to Ripple's, but she's still trying to be, in the same position where she wants to become a, digital asset bank with Custodia Bank. And again, it's just not working out. And she doesn't like the fact that Ripple also applied for a license, which will come up in conversation in this video as well. But the craziest part about all of this is just how much shade is still getting tossed towards Ripple's side of this space, and even XRP as well, 5 years later, right? Like, let's actually just go back real quick to the fact that this case is now wrapped up. I'm sure that a lot of you can remember back to when this case got announced. Almost everyone was talking down on XRP and talking down on Ripple. A lot of people celebrated the lawsuit. In fact, Vitalik Buterin is an individual that did celebrate the SEC case against Ripple. It's crazy how far we have come, but the fact that this is still an ongoing thing, the fact that we still have, so much hate tossed towards, XRP and tossed towards Ripple, it's shocking to me that we are still this far behind. And what I mean by that is I still think that it's crazy that we still have this infighting going on in this space. I don't know why we can't just celebrate the fact that a company like Ripple got past the SEC. I don't know why we can't celebrate the fact that XRP, a digital currency that everyone should have the right to buy, sell, and trade, just got past one of the most, incredible battles. Obviously, in terms of incredible, I mean the fact that, we got through this. It was a historical battle that will probably be talked about for, months and years going forward. It's something that we're going to be looking back on in time. I just don't know why we can't celebrate that we got past this as an industry, because Ripple fighting the SEC also provided the entire industry with major wins as well. But nobody wants to talk about that. But I bring all this up because we also just got a big update, which was just added to our document library. SEC order waiving bad actor disqualification of Ripple. The SEC Gov has fought this at every turn after the Torres decision, and now they've formally embraced it. The winning keeps on happening. And for those that don't know exactly what this means, here we have from Johnny Deaton. What this means: Ripple can continue to raise money in the private markets. One might even argue it's business as usual, as if the lawsuit against Ripple and the $125 million fine never happened. And this is exactly what we wanted. And the best part about all of this, right? The best part about all of this is how this affects XRP going forward. A lot of people will say, all right, well, that means that more sell pressure for XRP is going to happen. The main thing about Ripple with ROUSD, for an example, is that ROUSD generates them revenue now. That means that Ripple is not going to have to sell XRP the way that they did in previous times. But what's crazier about this is now Ripple is completely cleared, which means let's go back to Ripple applying for a national bank charter, which is why everyone is starting to flip on Ripple again. They didn't think that this case would be wrapped up this quick. They didn't think that, and by the way, in terms of, it being wrapped up this quick, I mean, I don't think that they thought that this case was ever going to get wrapped up. I don't think that they ever thought that Ripple was going to win. But now that Ripple did, and now that the case is behind us, we look at some of the recent moves. We go back to July 2nd, where Ripple applied for that national bank charter license from the OCC. If this does get approved, they would have both state via the New York Department of Financial Services and the federal oversight a new and unique benchmark for trust in the stablecoin market. This would put Ripple and RLUSD in a completely different category compared to all of the big players in the stablecoin market. On top of this, though, they also applied for a Fed master account. The same thing that they would have both state via the New York Department of Financial Services and federal oversight a new and unique benchmark for trust in the stablecoin market. This would completely put Ripple in a completely different category with RLUSD above the rest in this space. This would, if you think about how crazy this would be, this completely kills the competition, right? Like this is a completely new level that Ripple would be operating at. And I actually believe that they get the green light from the OCC on this. The same exact way that I believe that they get the green light on the Fed master account that they also applied for. And remember, this also unlocks access to RLUSD reserves being held directly with the Fed. This is why Caitlin Long and all of these people in this space are now so frustrated, because they know that Ripple is absolutely killing the game right now. They are about to get everything that they need in order to take over the stablecoin space in a huge way, but also become a legitimate digital asset bank that also has connections with the Fed. This is one of the craziest moves that Ripple has made that I do think is going to really set the bar extremely high for any stablecoin issuer in and around the US. On top of this, we go over here. This is what I mean by Bitcoin maxis that cannot stop talking about XRP. XRP is down 86% from its all-time high in 2018. It's unlikely to ever recover. And this is the XRP Bitcoin pair from all-time highs to today. And it's crazy because even XRP Mickle said they are so afraid of XRP that they won't even use the all-time XRP Bitcoin chart. They need to manipulate the data because they hate the truth. The truth is, for the vast majority of XRP's history, you were better off buying XRP than Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, this is true. Like when we think about what's happening here, there's been so much manipulation around these comparisons between Bitcoin and XRP. The problem with these Bitcoin maxis is they fear something that can actually be utilized at scale. They fear something that actually has utility because their precious Bitcoin, I hate to break it to you guys, but Bitcoin has no utility. People think that it does. And yeah, sure, can you make transactions on the Bitcoin network? Sure you can, but why would you? Why would you ever want to? When you have something like XRP, when you have something like Hedera, or even Stellar. I mean, guys, it's just ridiculous to me that people still, praise Bitcoin. I appreciate what Bitcoin has done for the space. It opened the doors of opportunity for assets like XRP to become a reality. But I'm tired of hearing these Bitcoin maxis continue to go on these rants about how bad XRP is, but then you tell them like, hey, guess what? How about we scale some transactions on the Bitcoin network? All of a sudden, that becomes a problem because again, Bitcoin can't scale. Scalable use cases do not live on Bitcoin. On top of that, the store of value narrative can only be shilled so hard to the point where we, become, aware that guess what? The Bitcoin store of value narrative is the only thing that they can actually hold on to. That's the only thing that they continue to praise about Bitcoin is store of value. This is why they are so fearful of XRP because they know at some point in time XRP can flip Bitcoin. It's still possible. Even right now, when we think about the comparison in the last year of gains, XRP is severely outperforming both Ethereum and Bitcoin. This is why they are terrified. And now that we see the last obstacle holding XRP back removed, yeah, they better fear it. They better be aware that XRP can quickly become a very dominant force in this space. But it's the same exact thing that I've been saying for years now. Even recently, back in January, I said, if you think the Bitcoin maxis are crying now because they wore, just imagine what they will do when the following happens. XRP ETFs approved and begin trading. This is something to look forward to. XRP flips Ethereum. Again, XRP has flipped Ethereum in the past. Banks use Ripple's custody solution for various use cases, including tokenization, because SAB 121 was repealed. We already know banks are using Ripple's custody solution today. DZ Bank is a perfect example. US banks announced that they will use XRP. We have yet to see this yet, but I'm sure at some point in time, US banks will be tapped in with XRP through Ripple. XRP begins to clear a path to rally against them, potentially flipping Bitcoin. This is still possible. Utility becomes the main driver of value, proving how ridiculous the store of value claim is for a volatile asset like Bitcoin. Maxis can continue to push baseless claims. However, this space has dramatically changed over the years, supporting the utility narrative even more. The fear, hate, and jealousy on the timeline are all the proof you need to understand what's happening and what's coming. Enjoy the show. And yes, this is clear. This is exactly what's happening. They hate XRP. They are jealous of XRP. They fear XRP. I even said something similar back in February where I quoted a post. This post is now unavailable. I wish that it was. I wish I could show you guys this post because, again, it was just ridiculous at the time. But I said here that it's funny how Ripple and XRP have been living rent-free in all the heads of these haters for years. I mean, think about how crazy of a journey it's been. Bitcoin and Ethereum maxis call XRP the banker's coin, and they say that it's anti-crypto. The SEC announces a lawsuit against Ripple and XRP, crashes. All the Bitcoin and Ethereum maxis laugh and throw shade. July 2023, XRP is deemed not a security in the court of law. The maxis begin seething. Then the maxis begin celebrating ETF filings, even though XRP is the banker's coin and anti-crypto, right? For the next 12 plus months, the maxis continue to hype the ETFs while celebrating more and more centralized control of their precious Bitcoin and Ethereum. Fast forward to now, and we have one of the most pro-crypto admins ever combined with a pro-crypto SEC, CFTC, Congress, and now an official crypto council. What's really comical here is that Ripple founders and employees have been in the middle of almost every single crypto discussion since the election. If you thought the maxis were unhinged for the last few years, think about the disbelief when XRP continues to push higher, even though it's the number one crypto in the USA category and Ripple becomes embedded in the US financial system. I hate to break it to you maxis, but Ripple will be a much larger success story than you think. ROUSD and XRP will continue to grow significantly. The XRP ledger will become more populated. Now for the best part. This will happen all while the inefficiencies of Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to limit adoption and utilization of these networks. Sorry, but the truth hurts. I wish for Bitcoin and Ethereum to continue to succeed. However, we can't be ignorant of the idea that the most efficient tech wins in the end. At one point in time, it seemed as if nothing was going to replace BlackBerry, MySpace, Yahoo, etc. Welcome to the real world. And yeah, like I keep saying, everyone needs to be aware of what's happening in the space. We keep seeing all of this infighting, all of this comparison about, oh, how, Bitcoin's outperforming, XRP and this, that, whatever. It's all nonsense. Listen, we are still in the beginning stages of this cycle for crypto. And what I mean by that, I mean the adoption cycle. The adoption phase of crypto tech is still just beginning. Yes, we've been following the 4-year cycle of crypto and the hype and speculation, all tied back to Bitcoin, but things are going to change. And when we really start to see things change in a huge way and shift towards a space that's all, moved by utility, we're not going to have these arguments. We're not going to be talking about Bitcoin. We're not going to be talking about Ethereum. We will be talking about the utility-based projects that are being utilized at scale. So all of this infighting, all of this ridiculousness, it's all exactly what it is right now. Noise. That's all this is simply noise. If Bitcoin is so successful, if Bitcoin is the number one crypto asset, if they love Bitcoin so much, why can't they stop talking about XRP? You ever wonder why? They fear it. They're concerned. They're worried. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.